Check one, check two, check three.
This guy was Ohio State's defensive coordinator in 2019.
This guy. All right, getting this thing ready right here. Football Talk with Russell Wayne. Here comes my background.
What? We're gonna bite a kneecap off. We're gonna bite a kneecap off. We're gonna bite a kneecap off. You like that?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome one, welcome all, welcome Brent. Football Talk. Oh, yeah. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome one, welcome all. Once again, it is the morning. It is 11 a.m. It is time for Football Talk with Russell Wayne. My name is Russell Wayne, and thank you. We are broadcasting live into our spots. We got the Detroit Lions Villain Squad. Yes, we are broadcasting live there. Please hit that like button. Please hit that follow button. We're also broadcasting live in the Detroit Lions news podcast, as well as the Main Event 365 YouTube channel. So thank you to everybody coming on here every single day. Football Talk, 365 days. And we're headed into the off season. So now that we are heading into the off season, we want to see how many of these hardcore people are left with their teams right there. So I'm going to bring on my compadre, Main Event Mike.
Compadre in the house.
Compadre is here. And, now we're moving towards the off season, Mike. I know that the Super Bowl's coming up. We got our picks in there. I don't know who you think. We got this guy named Patrick Mahomes who's been dominating the football world for the last few years, been killing it. And we're heading into our off season. And this is kind of a funny thing, like with our wrestling thing, but we're heading into our third season, right? And our official third season is going to start February 12th, right? Is that the day? That's the day after the Super Bowl. We're starting the brand new season, the off-season edition. We're going to have all 4 teams in here, but we are moving our show to 3 p.m. for season number 3 right there. And we're going to have some special guests, and we're going to do the off-season thing right, because there's a lot to talk about, because that's where we move into the NFC North. And we're going to do a little bit of that today too, Mike. But I want you all to be a part of that. We did very well on our afternoon show that I did the other day with Ben Johnson and everything. So, and we might even get some West Coast people on here, Mike. Oh my God, these guys all the way over on the West Coast, they never get to see this show. Guys like Ken Doby, who are retired, and he probably doesn't wake up until 12 o'clock. I mean, this might be good. This might be a good thing right here. So what do we want to talk about today? We'll start here with Getsy, because, Bear Down Mike says that I don't ever make any of these cool little graphics for the Bear guys right here. But Getsy gone. He gone. He's fired. And I know that makes Bear Down Mike happy when it comes with that. So what do you think about that? Getsy being gone.
I think the Bears are real happy, but this means it's going to be the 3rd play caller in a row for Justin Fields. He's going to have to learn all over. You guys are killing yourselves, I think. There's no continuity for this young quarterback. It almost signals to me that they're giving up. They're giving up on Justin Fields. I'm 100% convinced they're going to draft a quarterback, whether they keep him or trade him. I think hiring Shane Waldron as the new offensive coordinator signals a change. The kind of offense Shane Waldron likes is with a drop back passer. It's not with a running quarterback. I mean, Greg Roman from the Baltimore Ravens, that would have been a great hire for you, because you can just install the Lamar playbook right into Chicago and play to Justin Fields' strengths. But they didn't do that. They hired Shane Waldron, who's more of a West Coast offense type of play caller. Not a good fit at all for Justin Fields. They did interview Cliff Kingsbury, which led a lot of people to believe they were going to draft Caleb Williams from USC, because that's where Cliff Kingsbury's been for the last year, while the Arizona Cardinals pay him. He's over there helping his buddies in SC on a volunteer basis. Yeah, right. Smartest guy around, Cliff Kingsbury. Take the money and go to Thailand, come back, get a consulting job that you don't get paid for because Arizona's still paying you. So, Shane Waldron in, Getsy out. Big news for the Bears. Old news at this point. Green Bay Packers also get a new defensive coordinator. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, but we're looking at with Getsy right here. I mean, he's getting plenty of offers out there. When I looked at this today, and I wanted to bring this up today for that reason, because there's going to be a lot of talk this offseason when it comes to the Chicago Bears, when it comes to, like, what are you going to do with this guy? What are you going to do with Justin Fields right here? And you ran Getsy out of town. Okay, that's fine. That's fine that you ran Getsy out of town. Now he's gone. Your scapegoat is out the door. But there's this other group of people that feel that maybe Justin Fields was never the guy, and maybe Getsy was playing behind the 8 ball more than people are giving credit for. Because it seems like if he's getting all of these interviews, there's a lot more respect for Getsy in the NFL world than what I've heard out of Chicago Bear fans. And that's kind of why I brought that to the attention today. I don't know if we have our regular Bear guys in there, but we're sorry that we have to move you over to our YouTube channel right there. We want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got a couple people watching over there right now. If you're watching, hit that like button on there. It's the off season, kind of the off season. But you wanted to move on to the Packers. You ready to let's move on right here, because
Packers get a new defensive coordinator, but also Lions get a new defensive line coach. So we got a lot to talk about on Good Vibes Thursday.
So the Packers hired Jeff Hafley as their new DC, and this was a college. You know a lot more about him. Go ahead and give me your spiel on Hafley.
Did they fully hire him or only halfly? Anyway, Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator in Green Bay. None of the other defensive coaches have been let go, so there's a chance he could retain some or even all of the defensive staff that Joe Barry leaves behind. But right now, it's just a change at the top. Hafley, a former defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Currently, he was the head coach for the Boston College Eagles over there in the ACC, where he led them to a below 500, I believe 22-26 is his lifetime record as a head coach. And it seems a little curious. It's well known that he's great friends with Matt LaFleur. They coached together on the Cleveland Browns staff, and they both worked under Kyle Shanahan. They both come from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. And he's really buddy with Matt LaFleur. It's not what you know, it's who you know, I guess. And that's how he gets this job. The most interesting thing to me about this hire is when they asked Hafley, why would you take a DC position in the NFL when you're the head coach of a prominent ACC school? And his answer was shocking, Russell. He said, because coaching college football now is about NIL deals. It's about recruiting your team that's just going to leave in the portal, right? And he said that there's not any time to coach football anymore. I think this is going to be a marker along the road of the changes that are going to come to college football. Right now, it's the wild, wild west with the NIL transfer portal going crazy. It doesn't matter what school you are, how prominent you are. If you're Alabama, if you're USC, it doesn't matter. These kids are chasing the money, and I'm not condemning them for that, but it's changed the landscape of college football. And Jeff Hafley didn't mince any words about it, about why he went back to the NFL, because the state of college football and the state of college coaching specifically has become a circus to him. And I appreciate his honest remarks. This guy might do some good things in Green Bay.
Yeah, and the thing is like Joe Barry's taken a lot of the flack. They fired Joe Barry. They've had all of those first round draft picks that were there, and this is where you get to find out if it was Gudkist or if it was Joe Barry, because he either wasn't getting enough out of the talent or the talent wasn't being put there. And one of the two things are happening. Maybe he'll come there and all of a sudden this defense is going to be, lights out. But this guy's coming from college. And, Joe Barry, the Joe Barry experience didn't work there. So who knows? They say it's a lot easier to get worse at positions than it is to get better at them. I mean, maybe the grass isn't greener. It could be greener. But what do you think out there? They got this. They're bringing him in. Hafley.
Yeah, he's coming from college, but he does have 7 years of experience as an assistant defensive coach in the NFL.
Sure. So Hafley coming in, defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers now. What do you think about that?
We got to break this one here, right here, Russ. Hate to interrupt you. Jeremy says, Dan Quinn, hired by Washington, just announced. Okay. So there you go. Dan Quinn. Now, all the head coaching vacancies have been filled. Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, was hired yesterday by Seattle. Now, Jeremy Ballreich from Bustin' Balls with Jeremy B. Announcing that Dan Quinn going to be the head coach for the Washington Commanders. So that leaves Aaron Glenn, the odd man out. Why would he go take a defensive coordinator job anywhere else but the Lions? It looks like he's going to stay, I would think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Bustin' Balls with Jeremy B. When we start and it's really funny. It is like the WWE. By the way, this is a real quick plug right here for WrestleMania, my wrestling page right there. Those of you that are interested in the WWE, I even talk a little bit of AEW. I'm starting to build that page if you're into the wrestling side of that. But we're just going to turn over our season. So our season 2 officially ends, obviously, with the Super Bowl. And the very next day, we are going to start our brand new format right here, which has Bustin' Balls with Jeremy B up in the morning time. And then yours truly is moving to the afternoon show. And we can have my compadre on here too, Main Event Mike. And if it grows, maybe even Main Event Mike's going to be in there somewhere all by himself. But we're hoping to get some of you West Coast people out there at the 3 p.m. You guys, I mean, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning over there on the West Coast right there. But good. Said good take, Mike, from Brent. Look at that. Brian Flores. Brian Flores is still the Viking, is still at the Vikings. Yeah, he's still the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. And he did a good job with not a lot of talent last year. So that's what I'll say about that. Uriel Jackson. He says Detroit Lions got our coach back. Yes, Ben Johnson. Yes, we talked about that yesterday, but we can talk about that a little bit more. Ben Johnson choosing to stay with the Detroit Lions. He wants to win. He wants to win that Super Bowl.
And Russ, did you hear Amon-Ra St. Brown's take on it?
What did he say?
I thought we're gonna start the closing music already.
No, actually, I've been wanting to run this. I had this other. This is our background music for the entire show. I forgot to put it on.
You're gonna keep that running the whole time?
I love it.
Oh man, it's off-putting for me, but hey, whatever. You're watching Football Talk with Russell Wayne. He gets to choose the music.
No,
so yeah,
I'll take it right off, man.
Amon-Ra St. Brown on his St. Brown Brothers podcast disclosed the conversation that he had with Ben Johnson. That Amon-Ra asked him, "So what? Are you leaving or what?" And this is actually on the day. Ben says, "Yeah, I'm on my way to the facility now." Calls him en route to the Allen Park facility, where I'm imagining after he hung up with Amon-Ra, he then called the Commanders because he told Amon-Ra, "I have, quote, unfinished business in Detroit." And Amon-Ra absolutely was ecstatic. He immediately texted Jared Goff, is the report, to tell him that Ben Johnson was, in fact, staying in Detroit. I believe this is good news. We got some people out there who don't think this is a good move. Put it in the comments. Let us know if you think it's a good move. I think 9 out of 10 Lions fans believe it's a good move.
So a good move for who? I'm not understanding.
For the Lions. For the Lions. This is good for the Lions that Ben Johnson's staying. But there
yeah.
are people out there who hold that third quarter against him so much that they think he should be gone.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's crazy talk to me. To me, there was no decision. The decision was Ben Johnson's decision. He turned down a head coaching job to stay because he's such a good offensive coordinator. Put out a top 5 offense last year. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't have very good third quarters. I don't know why that is. Is that an anomaly or is
Brett here says, "Who in the right mind would not like Ben?" And I was like, Jeremy.
Hey, but that's the thing. He's busting balls with Jeremy B. He's pointing at, he ain't telling lies, guys. I mean, you can either accept Ben as he is. He hasn't had good third quarters. I mean, what are you going to say? Wow. He had bad third quarters. That is the knock against Ben. Coming right out. But he has had good fourth quarters, which is cool. So if he can fix that thing, because he does end up figuring it out. He did win 12 games. So, yeah, if he's had horrible third quarters, but for most of the time, he figures it out in the fourth quarter enough to win the game. So, yeah, maybe he can be perfect.
Right. I like this one from Fred Peterson. Ben Johnson said Equiminius St. Brown could be a Lion as well. I ain't mad about it. Decent pickup for wide receiver 3 or 4. I don't know, though. If you're a Bear fan out there, let us know what you think of EQ. I think he's obviously we got the better of the two brothers. But as we start to talk about a contract extension for Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe this is a little throw-in that we can get. Yeah, you hire my brother and I'll take a couple million less. Maybe something like that. It sounds absurd, I know, but
it does. But you know what Equiminius is really good at? He's really good at blocking as a wide receiver. That's his best attribute. He hasn't, put up the the gaudy, receiving stats, but he's always been good out on the edge when they put him out there to put blocks on. And I know that does translate well with what we do here in Detroit with Ben Johnson. So it wouldn't be awful. I wouldn't break the bank for him. I mean, what is he? He was a wide receiver 4 over there. So, I mean, if you can get him for like the veteran minimum,
yeah, but I mean, somebody's got to go if you bring him in. Would you rather have EQ or Antoine Green?
Oh, you really think it's there? Because we got three major receivers, right? You got your Amon-Ra, Jameson, and Raymond. So, yeah, I think Green's solidified himself in there, at least onto the practice squad as a developmental receiver.
We still need that starting X receiver. The Lions do outside the number guy, 50-50 ball, tall, wide receiver. And,
like Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's a
yeah, but is he washed? Is he washed? Is he washed up? He's older, right? I mean,
is he?
I don't know. He didn't look that great playing for the Lions on limited snaps. He did some nice blocking. He is also a punt return option. But I was never crazy about the Donovan Peoples-Jones signing. It's a good thing. Go blue, all that. But we need a bona fide X receiver out there. Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins. We need Devontae Adams. We need that guy out there to complement what we've already got.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think that they're hoping that they're going to develop that into Antoine Green. And Josh Reynolds, do you bring back you had these 2 receivers. There's 2 receivers right there. Do you bring them back? Josh Reynolds and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, you got 3 good receivers. Obviously, you're going to use Jameson more next year. I mean, he ended up getting enough snaps. They just didn't target him a ton. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the guy's going to have the whole offseason again. He's going to be here. Is he worth the 12 pick? I don't know. That he needs to finish out his career first. But
our good friend Ken Doby says, and he's a Bear fan, I like EQ. Blocks well, big body, seems to make a few big catches now and then. Big body, but has injuries. He was on a $1 million contract.
Yeah, Ken Doby's somebody that would at least be honest about all of these Bears, all this Bear stuff right here. I know that I think that he's one of them that is happy about Getsy being gone. So I wanted to get that. Where's my little guy that I made with Getsy? But there he is. Here you go, Ken. I made this just for you. Getsy, he gone. I know this is old news right here, but I had heard this, Ken. I heard that that people he was getting plenty of interviews that are out there. Obviously there's some people out there that think he can coach still, because they were pondering the New Orleans, what he could do with that offense. And it could have been just the mismatch of quarterback, and Justin Fields can still be good, if they end up staying with him. But what do you think about that? What do you think about that, Ken Doby?
John Wicks, who's a Packer fan, says the Lions wide receivers were top 5 in drops. I have yet to confirm that, but I'll take your word for that. Because I know in 2022, the Green Bay Packers led the entire league in drop passes.
Yeah. This is going to be the biggest question of the offseason. This is a slide that I made, 10 weeks ago. Not that it's a special slide or anything like that, but I made it 10 weeks ago because I knew that this is going to be the biggest question of the offseason for the Bears, is what is going to happen with Justin Fields, because every move is based around what's happening with Justin Fields. I want to add offensive line. I need to know who my quarterback is. I need to know what the direction is. I think the Bears know. I think they know what they want to do. Moving the pick again. Gosh, man, I think they're taking a quarterback there. Now, are they going to trade Justin Fields? I don't know, because I think the best move would be to take their quarterback of the future and have Justin Fields on the team.
Ken says it's only a big question to the media and some of the fans, and that Justin stays in Chicago. But that's not what we're asking. We're not asking, does Justin stay in Chicago? Do the Bears draft a quarterback is the real question. I mean,
Right.
there seems to be this perception that the Bears can't just keep him. You absolutely could keep him. 5th-year option, a franchise tag after that,
Correct.
still
Right.
draft a quarterback. You have, I think Ryan Poles has to draft a quarterback.
And
He has
imagine
to.
this, and this is something that I've been thinking about. Maybe this is just crazy Madden stuff, but you always think of the 2 quarterback thing, and it sounds stupid, right? But look at the wildcat situation that you could put out there if you put Justin Fields out there as just a playmaker, where you're handing the ball to him, or you don't know who they're snapping the ball to, and even if they do snap it to whoever, he can still pass the ball. He's not void of arm talent. You may not want to depend on him as the number 1 quarterback, but he can still throw the football better than a wide receiver trying to do a wide receiver trick play. He's a playmaker. He's fast. He's big.
What does The Rock have to say about Justin Fields?
Oh, The Rock says this. Know your role and don't try to play quarterback.
Jabroni.
Shut your mouth, jabroni. Run the football and do what you do good.
Doesn't The Rock want my opinion?
What do you think about that? The Rock says, hey, main event Mike, what do you think about Justin Fields and his running ability?
Well, I
It
think
doesn't matter what you think. Know your role and shut your mouth.
Acknowledge me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh.
It doesn't matter what you think. There you go, Steve. Good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning to Steve is real. Yeah. I don't know why you changed your name, bro. Well, I'm glad that we got the usual suspects in the comments today. Love seeing Robert in there, because I love it when you talk trash on the show. I love it. I just don't like it in my DM. It's okay, though. I can take it. I can take it. It's kind of wore off a little bit because, we're all losers in the NFC North now. And we were just the most recent losers, but, it's kind of wore off a little bit. And we're moving into the off-season mode. And we've had some stuff that happened. And, we had a couple signings. We talked about Jeff Haley as the new defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. We've been talking about Getsy gone.
What we haven't talked about is the new defensive line coach for the Detroit Lions. That's some big news, right?
Yeah, break it up.
Lions reportedly going to hire Terrell Williams as the new defensive line coach. He spent the last season with the Tennessee Titans as the defensive line coach. He has a long, long history of defensive line coaching all the way back to Akron in college years ago. He played nose tackle at East Carolina and jumped immediately into coaching. He's basically been a lifelong coach. I don't know that much about him. I'm sure more will come out in the coming days. Jeremy, if you've got any information on this guy, we'd love for you to share it with us. Terrell Williams is his name, and he's going to be the new defensive line coach for the Detroit Lions.
And I hope that I spelled that right when I threw that in there. I did not have something prepared as a graphic for that. I kind of did the last second thing, but yeah, for sure. Let's see what he can get out of these guys. I expect the Lions to have a little bit of a turnover when it comes to the defensive line, because the guys that we're gonna be losing, it's not like they're not good guys. They're just they're good filler guys. Romeo Okwara, I mean, you could bring him back, but he's not going to cost a lot. He's good depth, right? But I know that we want to upgrade that area in the offseason. And I think that they're going to do some major things on the defensive line. I think they're going to get a big pass rusher, like with some clout. And I think they're going to get a defensive tackle that also has some clout. Two major pieces right there. And we do have Jeremy B sitting here in the back, and I don't know if he has any new information, but welcome to the program, Jeremy B.
Well, the good news about Terrell Williams is he has familiarity with Dan Campbell. He was actually a part of the Miami Dolphins as assistant D-line coach back when he was the interim head coach. He was a big reason on why Ndamukong Suh cleaned up his act and stopped being a penalty marker guy.
Okay, I love that.
Together. So the mental errors that we've seen, maybe that'll help with that. And the other thing I like is he's been coaching with that Tavondre Sweat, the guy I've been talking about that might be a late first rounder after the Senior Bowl, because that guy's taking on double and triple teams and they can't stop him right now in practice. And that's with.
Does he play edge or tackle?
Tackle to put next to McNeil. He's been a 1 and a 3 technique, which technically, and that's in the 3-man front technique that Texas uses, but that translates to DT2 in a 4-man front, which is exactly what we need.
I know you're not a big fan of that 4-2-5, are you?
I am a fan of either the 4-3 or the 3-4. The 4-2-5 is fine for a dime set, but it is not a good base defense.
Right. And do you think our personnel fits a 4-2-5 in Detroit?
No. We've drafted 3 years straight for 3-4 under, and we switched prior to last season going, oh, we're going to run a 4-2-5. Well, then why the hell did you draft 3 nose tackles?
Steve says Tavondre Sweat is 6'4", 362 pounds. What college does this guy go to?
Texas.
Oh, he's a Longhorn. And Terrell Williams has been working with him, exclusively now in the offseason, you mean?
No, he is the head coach of the American squad at the Senior Bowl, and he's on that team.
Okay. And I love that call that he has that connection to Dan Campbell from Miami. That was a part of it that I didn't know. And I do love that because, you're a Dan Campbell guy, right? Obviously, for Campbell to bring him on the staff. Hey, look, man, I love this guy. So this is awesome.
Yep.
Look, man.
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
Hopefully with a good defensive tackle coach. Yeah, I think that we are going to have I think we are going to have a little bit of a turnover this year. What do you think about that, Jeremy? Brad Holmes is probably going to, with Romeo being gone, probably Julian being gone, Charles Harris probably being gone. I can see them making some moves to get some serious.
We're still on the hook for Aquara for $3.9 million, which is $1.9 million than what he made last year. We could say, hey, you only played in 2 games that you did good and 14 that you disappeared. Would you want to stay on the roster for that money or be a free agent?
I think they can get him for $1.50. Obviously you have to own all of your dead money. He had to make some moves because they didn't make smart moves with Bob Quinn when he was here. So Brad Holmes had to undo a lot of BS, and that was some of the final things that he had to do. And he offered him a deal. He offered him a way out.
But the Romeo Aquara signing was the first signing that Brad Holmes made that was a mistake. We re-signed him in 2021 to $13.9 million for 3 years. So he had to fix his own mistake because Romeo Aquara did not earn it.
Yeah, but remember 2021, Jeremy? We had no one.
Right. He earned that. I think that Romeo earned that, and they paid him for what he did from the year before. That's what they did. He was the best on a bad team from the year before, and that's what they paid him for. And the deal at the end of the year made it so they can get out of it. And I think that he'll come back if he does come back. Yeah, they had to restructure it, because it was too much money. It was either that or they were just going to outright release him. But this way, we at least got the production on the field, which wasn't great, but he had a couple good games this year. So if you get him cheap, he's a good guy to put in as your, fifth or sixth pass rusher that you can count on?
The reason why I didn't like the Romeo Okwara signing for as much as it was, and I said it at that time, we're paying him for 1 year of production in a contract year, which is never good with DNs, especially ones that have been injury prone. I said, because watch, he'll get injured the second game. And that's exactly what happened. And he missed 15 games that year. And then he didn't come back till 8 games in the next year. And then he gets hurt again and doesn't come back to 2 games in this year. There was a lot to why I said I did not like that signing at the time, because it literally cost us Matt Prater. It literally cost us Matt Prater and Marvin Jones Jr. The amount of money we paid Romeo Okwara, we could have kept both of them, and the kicking carousel doesn't happen.
Well, thank God that it's not that big of a deal anymore, because it's in the rearview mirror, because yeah, you paid him in 2021 to be your best pass rusher. Now he's not on your team anymore. Look how far we've come. I mean, if he does play on the team, it's going to be a definite alternate, maybe even borderline practice squad. So at this point, it don't matter. He's drafted so good that the core of this team, I mean, we're talking 30 deep, are on rookie deals, and they ain't going nowhere, which is beautiful. But
right.
He's got to keep drafting good, though.
Right. And if you look at it defensively, since we spent 56% of our draft picks on defense exclusively, you can't say Levi Amuzurike is a good pick anymore. You can't. He's been off the field, and when
he's not out of the league yet. I mean, he's not technically a bust yet.
He's not a bust. He's a bust.
Oh, he's not a bust.
He's still playing.
Yeah, I mean, he took snaps.
He's a bust so far. Maybe he's a bust so far. I'll go with that.
I'm getting that.
There's a difference between bust and a guy that isn't living up to a second round draft pick. I mean, a bust.
Players that have not played 3 years. I do not defend players who play 3 years and suck.
Doesn't suck.
He has sucked. He's
been injured. He's been injured, and he's been
fragile and bad at playing. I love it.
He doesn't suck. He doesn't suck, but he's not great. That's the difference. There's a whole bunch of these in between guys. Is he worth a second round draft pick? Probably not. No, he's not worth a second round draft pick. But if you got the guy in the 5th round,
he's a bust, because a second round pick is supposed to be a starter for years. He's not starter quality.
That doesn't make him a bust. A bust is a guy that's out of the league. Yeah, Andrew Booth Jr. is a bust because he ain't playing on the team. Like, I mean, he isn't even making the roster.
Oh, he made the roster. He was 4th or 5th on the roster, though, and a second round
type of player is closer to being a bust than Levi Onwuzurike, who came back from an injury.
Is Levi a starter on this squad right now? No. Second round pick, he's supposed to be a starter. That's a bust.
Okay. Your bust is way different than my bust. Like, I mean, a guy needs to be
leave that one alone.
You kind of agree with me, man?
No, we're talking about your bust. Anyway, we got some Packer fans. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one alone. Packer, your bust and Russ's bust are way different. You have a bigger bust than Russ. Robert, he's a Packer fan. We got Steve's a Packer fan. They're talking about this new DC. Robert says we got a new DC, something new for the division to work out. It's going to be very interesting in the division this season. And then Steve says that Green Bay will be running a 4-3 defense and also a 4-2-5 because they love running nickel defense as well. Well, I mean, just because they loved that before, Steve, doesn't mean that's what this new guy is going to run. But I'm going to go ahead and finish my take, Jeremy. Okay. So let me impart a little wisdom on you here, Steve. At Boston College, his record is 22-26 as a head coach in a weak ass conference. His defense last year gave up 31.5 points per game. They were almost dead last in the country in pass defense. So believe me, this guy did not get this job because of his merits or what he has done the last 3 years at Boston College. He hasn't burned it up. He stunk it up. he got this job because he's good old friends with Matt LaFleur. And I would be a little weary about this. You guys, I mean, I don't see anybody beating their chest in here about this guy if you're a Packer fan. So I realize you have some tempered optimism here. But I'm a little leery of this. I don't see this as an outstanding wow. This hiring has no wow factor when you look at some of the defensive coordinators that were available out there that they could have gotten a bigger name. So I'm a little I got some trepidation towards this one. Go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
Yep. It's a good pickup for Green Bay because it's not Joe Barry, and by proxy, it should be better. That's all I got to say about it. I mean, by proxy. No. I'm not giving a double standard. If you're not a starter in year 3 of your professional career and you were picked in the first 3 rounds, guess what? You are not.
Hey, Jeremy, you can't outwardly react to a comment when we're talking about Jeff Haley as the new defensive coordinator. You're back on. Are you Halfley? What did I say?
Haley twice.
Haley. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I didn't correct you the first time because I thought it was a one-off.
Halfley. Yeah, well, you said Holy.
Halfley.
You said Holy.
Not Holy, Halfley.
No, they hired Jeff Holy as their new defensive coordinator. And I guess you're only halfly happy with that. Anyway, we're talking about Levi Onwuzurike. Jeremy and I disagree on that statement. It's okay. And it's okay. I mean, I'm disappointed in Levi. That is probably the most disappointing of the picks that Brad Holmes has made. Maybe Jamison Williams coming in there because I wanted him to be better at this point, but I'm not giving up on either one of these two guys.
People calling J-Mo a bust when he just scored 2 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game on this team. How can you call him a bust who was our biggest scorer?
Well, I mean, he did have a touchdown go through his fingertips too, and he's not leading the league. He's not leading the team in receptions right now.
All right. Well, last week Onwuzurike had an 88.8 PFF grade, Jeremy. So I think Russ's point is solid here. The guy was the 12th overall pick. Has he lived up to that? Has he even been half of Chris Olave? I don't want to get into the JMO conversation because it's a dead horse. I do want to give Russ a chance to respond to Sarah, though, who says, how is Booth a bust? You said a bust is someone who's not on a team. Ain't it a double standard that you're giving? Now, go ahead and defend yourself there, but is that a double standard when you say that Onwuzurike is not a bust, but Booth is a bust?
You see that, but that's what I'm talking. I'm not talking. This is the water that we get into right here, Mike, and this is the water that we get into right here, Jeremy. This is the water that we get into right here, Sarah. When we start talking about busts that are still on the team, this is why we disagree. I actually agree with you, Sarah. Levi Onwuzurike is not a bust. Andrew Booth Jr. is not a bust because they are on the teams that drafted them. These guys are not out of the league yet. A bust is somebody that did not work out, can't make a team. That's what a bust should be. So I agree with you, Sarah. I am sorry for having a double standard right there, but calling Levi a bust makes it a double standard.
Not to me, because I go by what I've always said. I do not judge a draft pick in the first 3 rounds till after the 3rd year of their career. And if they have not lived up to the standard of being a starter, because that has been what we say the first 3 rounds is starting material in the NFL. So if they are not a starter at the end of year 3 of their career, I put them in the bust category.
Okay, so then by those standards,
Derek Barnes
is a bust.
Yep.
Whoa.
Lost his starter job. He lost
see that. Well, okay, so we're just going to disagree on that. Like that completely disagree.
Wait, actually, no, it's not. I said first 3 rounds are starter material. Derek Barnes was a 4th round pick.
You don't even know. You're trying. He's making it up as he's going along, Mike.
I did say that. Did I not say the first 3 rounds? I do not judge till after the first 3 years.
Yeah, but you just called Derek Barnes a bust.
And then I retracted
because you forgot your own rule.
Because I forgot he's a 4th round pick.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Jeremy.
I forgot
you
he
did.
was a fourth-round pick.
Yeah, so he doesn't fall into those parameters of what Jeremy defines as a bust because he was drafted in the fourth round.
Melifonu's a bust too.
No, he was a starter. Unfortunately, CJGJ got healthy, and they made him rotational, which was a mistake.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying. This is the trick bag that you put yourself in the way that if he's out of the league is a bust. The way looking at it like that takes you out of these really ridiculous arguments that we're going to have with like Sarah and people that are going to like try to, put their guy into this gray area. They haven't lived up to their draft pick. We can agree there. Jameson has not lived up to the 12th overall pick. Levi has not lived up to a second round grade. And now in the third, fourth year, Ifeatu Melifonwu is finally living up to that grade. Derek Barnes is living up to the development grade. And Levi missed an entire season, almost 2 seasons. Now, ability, the best ability is availability. I understand that. But he worked his ass off, got back. And like Mike just said, his last track performance was an 88 grade for PFF for the time that he's put in. So he'll have one more year, and he ain't going to get that top defensive tackle money or anything like that for Levi. This dude's playing for a roster spot. If he can make the team as a reserve and be on a championship team, I think he would consider that a win. That's not worth the second round pick.
And this is a conversation that we've had many times, Russ, right? What defines a bust? What is a bust? Paul Jones says, a bust is someone who is extremely short of their draft expectations, in my opinion. So,
and there becomes a whole bunch of gray area where you
and I have to agree with Jeremy. If that is how we define a bust, what Paul just said there, Levi Onwuzurike is a bust. He has extremely fell short of their draft expectation.
So, but now under these laws right here, let's just say we're living in this we Doctor Strange this, right? Now we're in this world. Now, can they move from draft bust? I mean, they can move out of that, right? Like next year, if Levi finally, has a good off season again and, lives up and boom, he becomes a starter. Now, can he move out of that draft bust?
Yeah, then he gets the title of former bust.
Okay. So as long as I understand these rules, I think that I can live in this world because we do agree on the play is underwhelming from him.
Okay. You want the letter of the definition by Google?
Oh God.
Sure, because Google's never wrong.
No.
A bust in the NFL, according to all GMs polled, a player who fails to meet the high expectations that were placed on him when they were drafted or signed by a team.
Which is exactly what Paul just said.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
All right, great. So now we have a definition.
These expectations are typically based on the player's college career, physical attributes, and performance in pre-draft evaluations, as well as after 3 years of playing on the field.
Okay. So I actually have a gray area there for you because he missed 2 of the years in 8 games. We only have 6 games of tape on this guy and know what he is.
That's true.
And a health. So he ain't a bust yet. By your own definition.
Right. Within 3 years, if it's what Paul says here, if within 3 years, he's still extremely short of his draft expectation.
I mean, there's the gray area, right?
And to you, Sarah, you are not wrong. Sarah Russ actually retracted what he said, so you were right.
Yes, actually, I was when I said that. That's in the heat of the moment. Jeremy and I were going back, and I'm like, by that definition, then Andrew Booth Jr. is also a bust. Oh. Like, I think it comes off. Yes, then by those definitions, they are both busts.
I agree with Ken Fisher. Levi Onwuzurike is the defensive tackle version of Charles Rogers.
Okay, well, now hold on now. This is where I want to go. Is Charles Rogers a bust? He had broken collarbone back to back. Does injury prevent you from getting a bust title? How can you be a bust when an injury derailed your career? He was lighting it up before he got hurt, Charles Rogers.
But also what he did off the field derailed him.
True.
That's why he couldn't stay after he healed.
Yeah, but he had 2 broken collarbones. 2 of them. I don't know. It's tough to label Charles Rogers a bust when it's an injury that derails your career. Was Andrew Luck a bust?
No.
Why not? He didn't live up. He fell short. He fell short of expectations from where he was drafted. And that is our definition that we're using. By that definition, Andrew Luck would be a bust. Because of injury. I think injury exempts you. Injury excuses you from being a bust in some instances. I think we can agree on that, right?
Yeah, I can agree with that. And you know, this is a topic that these are really cool, debatable topics because, you know, these guys are in the midst of their careers and they do have chances to turn their careers around going into the next year.
Steve says a good definition of a bust is me. Thanks. There's your definition of a bust. Steve is a bust is what he says. No, Steve, you're a buster. Big difference. Robert Bertana talking about Charles Rogers. He sounds brittle. Yeah, I would say, oh, ye of the brittle collarbone.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that we did not have a good track record in wide receivers there for a minute. They were trying to. The Mike Williams one is even more famous for me. Like, oh my gosh. Roy Williams was okay because I ended up getting some picks back for him, you know, and he was pretty good here. And then he went there and we kind of robbed Dallas in that trade. That always sits well in my stomach. Yeah. That part of it.
We bet we wasted that first round pick on Brandon Pettigrew to turn around and draft Eric Ebron.
But let's be totally honest here. Let's end. This is good vibes Thursday. So
it sure is.
Overall, Brad Holmes, I think, has been the best GM in the NFL over the last 3 years. From who he's been able to bring in, he might have 2 gold jackets in his first draft, and this last draft that he just had with Laporta and Branch and Campbell and Gibbs. I mean, this may go down is one of the better 3 drafts in a row when you think about the types of players that they've got.
In fact, with his hit rate, because the hit rate, Jeremy, you can Google this. I'm pretty sure it's 32%, something right around 30-some% of draft picks are actual studs, right? Only 32% of them are actually a hit. Brad Holmes' hit rate is higher than any GM in any 3-year stretch. There was 1 year where the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted 5 Hall of Famers in one draft. That's the exception, not the rule. So what Brad Holmes has done in 3 years is nothing short of amazing.
Right.
Yeah, you can't find any 3 drafts that I think would be better. That's why I think that the future looks really good for this team. You know, and nothing's guaranteed. You know, they had a good opportunity that they blew right there. But, you know, there is always next year when it comes with it. And that's what we're all hoping for. Doesn't matter what team you root for in the NFC North. There's next year. There is next year. We got to get through this Super Bowl. We got to get through Taylor Swift and mania. And, you know, he's going to catch Tom Brady. Man, he's so good. Oh, man, Patrick Mahomes and Otto.
John Wick says that Brad Holmes' free agency hasn't been good. Well, that depends on how you look at it, John. Sure, he hasn't had a big splash free agent, really, but he hasn't made deals that hamstring our franchise. He hasn't made deals where he's overpaid for mid-tier talent. I mean, he put Cam Sutton on a 3-year deal, who's not a number one corner, but he's also not paying him like a number one corner. I think Brad Holmes has done fine in free agency because he hasn't broke the bank and he hasn't hurt his franchise. We are a fiscally sound franchise, one of the most fiscally sound franchises in the league. So does that translate that he hasn't been good in free agency? I'm not sure I agree with that take, but thanks for the comment.
Yeah, I mean,
$3 million for Sutton is too much, John says. Well, that's over 3 years, bro. That's $11 million a year. That's way below. You could get 2 Cam Suttons for 1 Jalen Ramsey. So no, that's not too much.
It actually breaks down to $6.9 million a year because a lot of it's incentives. So he's actually being paid like a slot receiver and expected to play the CB2, which is actually what he's worth.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot, Mike, where if you move him down a couple pieces on the depth chart, Cam Sutton's fine. He just isn't going to be the guy that you want covering anybody's number one wide receiver, but the dude's fundamentally sound. You put him into the number 2, number 3 guy, he'll lock it down. He'll do well there.
Did anyone else notice a difference between Cam Sutton from the first half of the season to the second half of the season?
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
What do you attribute that to, Jeremy? I know he had a toe injury.
He had the toe injury. Also, Jerry Jacobs' play started to degrade. The safeties weren't playing as good behind him. Tracy Walker started out hot after CJ got hurt and then drifted slowly back to the Tracy Walker we knew in coverage. And all of that combined, plus a lack of sack rate in the front when he came from a team like Pittsburgh, which has one of the top 5 sack rates in the league. If you're not getting pressure that creates sacks to make it easier on your secondary is going to suffer.
Right, and that's what Ken Fisher's saying. He's saying we blitzed more. He typed glitched, but I know he meant blitzed more in the second half. That left them Cam Sutton out there on an island by himself. That's a great call out, Ken.
And that's where you got to give like Aaron Glenn a little bit of credit, because he knew he had a talent deficiency on that back end. Great safeties. I think that they ended up having great safety play overall by the end of the season, but that Kendall Vildor, Jerry Jacobs experiment over on that other side, and Cam Sutton just isn't a number one. For him having to scheme around that by doing some pretty cool blitzing stuff and getting pressure, they were able to get some turnovers, but they were burnt a lot though too. When you start blitzing people, you leave those questionable dudes that we don't like leaving on an island, leaving them on an island, and They get burnt.
Hey, folks, you are watching Football Talk with Russell Wayne on the Main Event 365 Network. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Lions Villain Squad. Head on over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. It's at Main Event 365. And there's also this really cool thing called Patreon. I don't know if you know about that, but you could really make a huge impact and keep this show on the air if you head over to patreon.com/Villain Squad. Like our good friend Fred here, who says, this is going to bother me till I remember his name. Who's the Lions running back that was a college star that got hurt, then got drafted to the Lions and had the same injury from landing on his head? Was that Javid Best?
Zach Zenner broke his neck.
Zach Zenner. There you go, Fred.
Zach Zenner.
Wow, I remember the Zach Zenner.
You don't remember Zach Zenner?
Oh, I remember Zach Zenner. Oh, yeah. What? Zach Zenner. It was Zach Zenner fever around in Detroit when they wanted to make him the starter. It was so crazy. I was like, whoa, okay. He's pretty good.
And Reggie Bush got hurt in that last week, and he come out in the wild card game versus Dallas. Had 77 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half to put us up big.
Wasn't he like a doctor too? Like, isn't he like? Wasn't he? Wasn't he like a
doctor? It's Dr. Zach Zenner. Yeah,
Dr. Zenner.
Yeah, he actually has his medical degree. He's a doctor now that he's retired because he did break his neck twice. Javid Best was just concussion prone. He never broke his neck.
Right.
And when you said broke his neck, the only one that came to mind, because a running back that broke his neck, the only one we had that broke his neck was Zach Zenner.
Yeah, yeah.
Mohamed
That's who we were looking for.
He said Test. I was thinking John was Best.
Yep. And I got a hard stop at noon, so I got to jump off here. Thanks to everyone in the comments. Thanks to Russell Wayne and Jeremy B. I'm Main Event Mike. God bless each and every one of you. Peace out.
All right. That's Main Event Mike right there. And this is Faith, Family, and Football. That's what we're doing right here. Thank you to everybody that is into the NTC Give. That link that's in our description. If you hit that up, we're doing great outreach things right there. And I think that that's the most important thing. If you want to come to church, I play guitar in this praise and worship group. I get to play guitar, praising the Lord.
Amen.
And then you get a good word. And then you get a good word from Pastor Kevin Galloway every single week. We're trying to spread hope, trying to spread the faith. So faith, family, and football. The family and football part, that's an easy thing. That's just hanging around with your family, using football. Use football. Don't let football use you. Now that we've lost, we don't want to turn into buttholes right here. So join us each and every morning right here. It's going to be Bustin' Balls with Jeremy B in the mornings, and then in the afternoons, we're going to have football talk with Russell Wayne. So may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again tomorrow. Football talk with Russell Wayne. Pick 'em Friday. I don't even know what we're going to pick, but peace out.
It reminds me of a football show, Football Talk with Russell Wayne, 11 a.m. in the mornings. You should watch it because it could be good for you. It could be good for you. It could be good for your life.
What's up, y'all? This is Ifeatu Melifonwu, safety for the Detroit Lions. And I just want to take some time out to give a big shout out to Russell Wayne and Main Event Mike from the Detroit Lions Villain Squad. It's a fan page and a podcast. And I just want to say I appreciate the support of me and my team. And I encourage everyone to go check out their podcast and check out their fan page. Go Lions.
It's not fair. They were so happy.